Hey there, Wranglers. How you doing? I wanted to let you know we're going to be changing the format on some of these days. I'm going to try to do more videos, and I'm going to try to do some longer videos that you can listen to at work that might be fun for you to check out and listen to, and while you're working, you can throw this on in the background, or if you're taking a break, you can listen to this. And so at work with Neon Wrangler. All right. And today, what we're going to talk about is something I've talked about a couple of times before, but people keep asking me about it. So I'm going to try to do the definitive explanations as far as I know them. And it's about the dream I had. Everybody has dreams, but last February, almost a year ago, we had a family tragedy where one of my stepsons committed. Well, I don't know if he committed suicide or not. It was could have been an accidental death. We're not sure. Died, and right after that, when we got back from the funeral, I had a stroke, a significant stroke. So my left side, which right here, there's a good chance they told me that I wouldn't be able to move it or do anything. But well, I'm playing guitar, not well yet, but I'm playing, and I can walk, I can talk, I can pretty much take care of everything I need to take care of, except I need a cane to walk. And I've got this really cool cane. So if you're wanting to see it, you can either play it back or just whatever. This is they're not sponsoring me. I'm just telling you what they are. I've ordered several products from them. This is a Cold Steel. The name of the company is Cold Steel, and this cane is heavy duty nylon, I think, or something like really sturdy. It can be used as for self protection and I use it for walking, And where they had the option of sword canes, and my friends were saying, and my wife was like, "Well, why don't you get a sword cane for protection?" I'm like, "No, I don't have any balance. It's one of the symptoms of my stroke. I had terrible balance, and I'm not going to be whipping out a sword and poking at somebody. I can just bonk them on the head with that and be done with it." So that's that's my cane. So anyway, let me tell you about the dream. I had the stroke, and then after the stroke, throughout the year, twice I had bleeds in my stomach where I needed surgery because they put me on the stroke medicine that they put me on blood thinning medicine. This made the inside lining of my stomach thinner, and because of this, I had some internal bleeding. One time was not so bad. The second time was very severe, resulting in me puking up a bunch of blood and ended up in the hospital for probably 2 weeks. And for a while, I was actually in a coma, I believe. I was in a coma. I think that's what they did. Well, I'm pretty sure that's what they said. And uh, so I was in this coma for several days, and I woke up and saw my wife, and she was there. And actually, I woke up on my birthday. So, instead of, since I just turned 21, as you can tell by the way I look, I couldn't go out and have a drink. I had to stay in the hospital. But so I was I woke up from this coma because and I'd lost so much blood. They had to infuse me and all this kind of stuff and all kinds of unpleasantness. But during this coma, this several days where I wasn't awake, I was just there. I was stable, but I was asleep, completely unresponsive. The I had a dream, and the dream was I was standing out in this bleak wood, this bleak gray, dark gray woods, and and I was in a clearing, and the clearing was pretty bleak too. And in the ground of the clearing was a big, huge hole, maybe 15, 20 feet across, and around the rim of the hole was bricks, like they'd been sunken into the ground, like something had been built there before. So anyway, I saw this, and I was standing there, and I noticed what I looked like. I don't know how, but I was blue and white and iridescent and very thin. My entire body was thin. It was almost like I don't know, just like I wouldn't say a skeleton. I didn't look skeletal, but I was maybe had that. I was about that thick, is what it looked like, and my head was kind of, it's strange. It was kind of football shaped, maybe like Stewie from The Family Guy. And then I was standing there for a bit, and I looked across and I saw another one of these iridescent blue and white forms, and we both were wearing these like short robes like they used to wear in ancient Greece, not togas, but just like the tunic with. We were just wearing these straight tunics, and they were white and blue too, and just kind of melded in with the white and blue of your body. And I'm standing there, and I'm just not sure what to do, and I'm just looking around, and this thing looked at me, and I was looking at it, and it finally just dove into the hole, and I knew that I had to go in to the hole too. So I jumped into the hole. It started falling and falling and falling, and I remember being scared, like thinking, I hope I don't go to hell. But that quickly passed. It was a strange thing that I just stopped worrying about it, and I just kind of fell into blackness and oblivion, I guess is what you call it. It was a type of, just being there. This thing was somewhere in there with me, I guess, but felt very much alone and confused because I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know if I was falling into heaven or falling into hell or what I was doing. Well, anyway, that dream passed, and eventually I woke up, and this is what I remember. It wasn't like a normal dream because not only was the imagery different, but it had a huge emotional content to it. That's what I felt. I felt like my emotions were almost not mine. It felt like I was kind of hollow or not substantial, and the cold wind blowing through the this forest or whatever was that's where my emotions were coming from, and that's what I felt. Was that kind of thing. So anyway, I recovered, and I recovered. Yeah, I woke up, was in the hospital for a while, and getting my blood back to where it needs to be. It's not quite there yet, but and that's why I haven't been doing so many videos, but I've been very fatigued, and it's very hard for me to concentrate. So anyway, I fell and I fell and I fell and woke up, and then so when I woke up, I saw Jen sitting there, and she was smiling at me, and I remember craving apples and apple juice, and I kept asking for it and kept asking for it. It got annoying from what I was told, but imagine how dry your mouth is when you've been intubated and all of that. Let me give you an idea what they had me, how they had me hooked up. They had a tube down my throat. I was being intubated. They were, I don't know if they were pumping. I think they were pumping that blood out of me when it would fill up or whatever. And then not only that, but I had an IV in my arm and an IV in my neck. And what I didn't know at the time when I woke up was that the IV in my neck and the IV in my arm were both sewn into my skin. So I couldn't just pull them out. And that comes a little bit more important later when I wanted to go home and I was getting ready. I had gotten up out of bed and I was going to take the IVs out and go home. Well, that wasn't going to work. I needed a nurse's help to undo the stitches. And so I get home. I finally, arguing with the doctors back and forth at different times about different things. It seems like each different doctor wanted something different out of me. They wanted to see something else at a different level. And I found out what the hospital's release policy was as far as, I can refuse treatment and what their recommended levels were. I had met the recommended levels, and I said, I can refuse the treatment. So I stopped doing that. I'm not going to get into the real gross stuff like what they had, how they had me going to the bathroom for a while and all that. That's just, I'll leave that to your imaginations. Let's talk about something a little bit more interesting. So anyway, I get home and I'm recuperating at home, which thank God for home. It's not it is not fun being in the hospital. If any of you are sitting there thinking, oh, it must be nice to be waited on hand and foot and all that and have all these nurses look after you, it's not. You don't have any freedom. You don't have sometimes they give you some freedom if you can walk. I couldn't really walk that well. I had backpedaled a little bit from my ability to walk from laying in the bed. And, they bring you the worst food you've ever tasted, and you're supposed to eat it. And it was horrible. And I would go sometimes a couple of days without eating, which wasn't yeah, healthy for me. But I wasn't going to eat that stuff. It was just terrible. The meat was thick and tough, and had no flavor, and pretty much anything they gave you was terrible. The nurses were very nice, the staff was very competent, they were very good, but that food was awful. And not only that, but you had to, you know, it was, it was hard to, and then every few hours they come in and take blood and they do this and they do that. So you're not really going to rest that well either. Um, so I get home and I'm resting at home, like I had said a few minutes ago. And I called my friend. She's one of my best friends, and has been for a while. She's really looked after me when I've needed it, and she's helped out a lot. And, uh, and I called her because she used to do dream interpretation, okay, for a magazine, and not just a internet magazine, a real magazine. And she's an author before the internet, so she was a real author too. I mean, actual print books. And I called her up and I said, "Look, this is my dream, and I know you do dream interpretation, and I want to know what you think it means." Well, I've done told her about many dreams that I've had in the past, and she's done interpretation on them, and I figured this would be no different. And she just kind of said, "I don't know. I really don't know." And I'm like, "Wow, that's." I was a little disappointed, but she'd taught me things like, in dreams when we see, water is emotion, your house is you, but everybody in your dream is you too, but your house is you, like personally, like your body or whatever. If you imagine another person in your dreams, like let's say your girlfriend or your boyfriend, they may not actually represent that person, but they may represent the relationship. She had taught me all kinds of dream interpretation stuff. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that is interesting. Yeah, water's emotion, the house thing. Oh, I had a horrible dream once years ago where they tore my chest open in an operation and were like removing my heart and all this kind of stuff. And I asked her about that, and she made a really good point with what it meant. And sometimes, the scariest dreams have the most positive meanings. And she basically, I can't remember what she explained to me on that dream, but it was like getting my heart reinstalled or getting another heart, and changing. There was a change going on, and so that kind of thing. And we have anxiety dreams, and those I think are pretty obvious at times when we're having anxious dreams about being anxious. There's something that's bothering us and all that, but we know all that. But even my dream interpretation friend could not, she just said, "I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means." That was kind of beyond the territory of what they normally see, and or she had experienced. And so all I really had to do was go on my emotions about what I felt about that. Okay, what did I feel about that? Well, when I woke up, I felt obviously I almost forgotten the dream almost until a little bit later when it popped right back into my head. And I remember the emotional part of it. I remember being kind of frightened and confused and and surprised at what I looked like and surprised at this other thing, what it looked like, and how I was compelled to follow it and do all this other stuff. But it was so different than other dreams because when I would think back on it, not so much now, but when I did then, it was weird. I'd re-experience the emotions and just the bizarreness of the whole thing. And people ask me, do you think you saw, do you think you were close to death? Did you see the light, that we all hear about? And I was like, no, I didn't see any light, and I didn't see any hellscape either. I mean, it was just kind of this blank, and I shouldn't say blank, but just this kind of empty world. To put it bluntly, is how it felt. An empty world where, the wind passed through you or falling through the hole. Your emotions were coming from the outside, and you're and you were basically adopting them on the inside. I don't. It's hard to explain this because it's different than other dreams. I felt like I was part of this that world I was in, but I had no power, I had no agency, and it just was uh, it's kind of like a sail blowing in the wind. That's how I felt. And I did feel some fear, a little bit of fear, but a lot of that fear came from confusion. Now, as far as dreams go, a lot of people have, claim to have prophetic dreams and all that kind of thing. I haven't had one that I know of. And some of you are probably sitting there thinking and analyzing the dream and saying it means this, that, and the other. And I'd like to hear whatever you have to say. I mean, and feel free to give me different opinions. Don't shit on somebody that gives a different opinion than yours. I mean, they're all going to be interested. I'd love to read as much as I could about it and what people think. And then if I read something that feels dead on, I'll say something or close to being dead on. But dreams are powerful things. I think it's our brain unwinding when it has to, or I don't know. Maybe I was very close to death and they caught it or something. I don't know. And but totally different than any other experience I've had. So that's the story of the dream I had. And then I've come home and I since haven't had any of that dream or anything like that. I've had pretty much regular dreams. And from time to time, I had a dream the other night that I spent all this money on a giant amplifier for playing guitar, and I couldn't get sound to come through the amplifier very loud. It was like there was some kind of setting I hadn't made correctly, and this amplifier was as big as me, and I'm trying to fiddle with these knobs to get my guitar to come through, the sound to come through, and I was having no luck, and it was frustrating. So hey, who knows what that means? But anyway, well, guys, what I want us to do here is I hope this gives you some reason to think about. I don't know, which gives you some reason to talk about dreams or think about dreams. And I'd love to hear some of your dreams if you want, and tell me about them. Now, I know a lot of people are going to dream about me. It's just natural because you know, I'm the Neon Wrangler and I'm awesome. But you can tell me about those, or you can just tell me about your regular dreams. So anyway, guys, Neon Wrangler out, and you take care, and I'll see you. Oh, I'm going to see you tomorrow. The next morning, I'm going to try to get you some good crime stuff. I'm going to talk about mafia, mafia murders and mafia death and stuff like that, and see what we can get into there. So we'll have a better show than just like this video blog stuff about me. I get a little tired of that, but I've been people are asking me questions, so I'm answering them. And feel free, I will do a couple of vlogs every now and then as I recover. So take care, and I'll see you at the next roundup. And welcome to Neon Wrangler at Work. Bye bye.